Welcome everyone to a really special night tonight. Why is it special? Because I'm not running it. Harbor Crew, take over.
This is day 11 of our, what are we calling it? Summer Reading Regatta. And tonight we have short stories as our theme, and we have got Emma Palova, Michael Schwartz, and a brand new person you have probably never heard of in your entire life who's joining us for the first time, Kathryn Plopa. So, where's the applause? Come on, Harbor Crew, applause.
So,
we know how to greet people. Andrew, take it away for the Sailor Shore School.
For those of you that missed last night, Kate McNeil did it again, just like she did in February. Last night we had all hands on deck, and Kate spent a great time with us talking about street and launch teams and showed us how she did it and became successful. That is available as a $10 replay now if you weren't there, and you can download the transcript, with that, as well as Carolyn Topperman, who also back on June 7th had a really fun group meeting, images as prompts, and we went through some writing and read and had a really great time. Coming up next week, June 15th, D.A. Reed, Deborah as we know her, you had me at the hook, opening lines. How can you write those first couple lines so that the reader just goes, wow, I have to have this book. That is a open, kid-friendly event, and bring kids, bring friends, bring everybody so that you can have fun, and it'll be another interactive writing workshop. On the 27th, you'll get to have some fun with me in Shots Across the Bow, Weapons in Fiction, and we'll be talking about different types of weapons, and it'll be led by the group, and we'll go whatever direction we need to go so that people can ask questions that they've always wanted to ask. And then on June 28th, the last part, Brent, Seth, and Christopher Gare are going to build us some worlds in Land Ho, world building, so that you can get that perfect world for your book.
So make sure you join us all for these. They have been phenomenal so far. I've been a part of the first two, and I am learning a tremendous amount. And I've also gotten to see Kate's real interesting business side that scared the living daylights out of me yesterday.
For those of you, just real quick, a note. We had so much information in last night's session with Kate. There are 32 pages of transcript. So I am going through it and editing. There are a couple computer stutters and that sort of thing. So I want to edit it so you have a clean transcript copy. So look for that late tomorrow afternoon. Okay?
That's so kind of you. Computer stutters. In other words, God only knows what I said.
It was more than just you. Okay. So tonight, before we go any further, I really need to do this. Thank you to my Harbor Crew for taking over tonight. Christopher Gare, Brent Seth, Caroline Topperman, Kate McNeil, and Andrew Smith. And Deborah Reed is watching us from the shoreline tonight. She's on shore leave with her family, but we do want to shout out to her as well. I could not do an eighth of what I do without these people. So I want to acknowledge them and thank them. And oh my gosh, you guys are the best. Okay, you can have it now.
Okay, so first up for the evening, we have, do we have the slide?
Dun, dun, dun.
We have Emma Palova, and she's going to be reading from her short story collection, Shifting Sands. And Emma, before you begin, I do have a question for you. As someone who writes fiction, I've written a couple of short stories. I guess this is a two-part question. One, what is the attraction for you of writing short stories, and do you prefer writing them, or do you prefer writing longer fiction, or why?
I prefer short stories because I get the thoughts, the plot, and the characters out fast. And since I have so many different ideas, I wouldn't be able to write that many books.
Fair enough.
Okay. I love the encapsulation, and it's also very challenging, and I love a good challenge.
I think everyone does.
Don't we all, right? Don't we all?
I have a question for you, Emma.
Sure.
When you're writing short stories, and this is different for just about everybody I've ever talked to, Do you have a particular length that you go for, or do you just write until it's done? Because I've seen short stories. I mean, obviously we have the flash fiction that is as low as 250 and 350 words, and we've seen short stories that are called short stories that are 15,000 words or more. So, you know, the question becomes, where do you like to fall?
I try to keep it under 3,000 words.
Okay.
If I can develop the plot under 3,000, that's what I go for, always. Sometimes it does stretch it out to 5,000 or even to 10,000, but then it's considered a long short story, and then you can go into a novella. But my preferred count is under 3,000. I have a feeling for that I can develop the character and the plot within that space and time.
Super.
In most cases. And if I can, then I try to rein it in.
Super.
And what's the story you're going to read from tonight?
Okay, I'm going to read the short story Iron Horse from my first book of short stories. I picked the Iron Horse story because it is deeply rooted in my love for hometown journalism and my coveting for an AP award. In the early 2000s, a huge influx of CAFOs, concentrated animal farm operations, housing hundreds to millions of animals, swept through Michigan and the Midwest. These CAFOs flooded the countryside with the smell of manure. People were angry on both sides. The consumers raised havoc against the farmers and packed the township halls. So right there, you have a conflict that stands at the heart of this story. I covered this CAFO controversy that lasted over a year for a daily newspaper, and it inspired this fiction story. In most of my stories, I intertwine the real with fiction, try to discern between the real and the fictitious. I will post a quiz tomorrow for a chance to win a book of your choice from my portfolio for those who will be able to discern that. And later after the reading, ask me about the Kindle giveaway starting at midnight after the reading. That's the setup. Here we go. On a hot afternoon in May, the editor and I kissed, a long, succulent kiss, inside the Grand Hotel banquet hall, in front of people all dressed in yellow. We hugged and cried. Tears rolled down my cheeks. I felt a tear trickle down my chest into my yellow blouse. I bowed my head a bit to look at my shoes, but mainly to avoid the audience. My shoes were racy yellow, bought from an extinct Spiegel catalog. So was the suit. Everybody in the room was wearing yellow. The tablecloths on round tables were yellow. I bit my lips hard so that a streak of blood appeared on them. I was hoping the blood wouldn't smear my yellow suit. I closed my eyes and I could see the old township hall at Shimicon Corners. So this is all you expected, an angry farmer barked at me. His face was swollen and his Adam's apple was rolling in his throat. He was wearing Carhartt overalls stained with manure. His hands were big with strong fingers. I backed away. He smelled of hay and manure. A terrifying stench spread in the meeting room of the Shimicon Township. I looked around me. The township hall was packed. The latecomers were peeking in from the windows. 2 policemen were standing by the door, their hands on their guns and clubs. I could hardly breathe because the air was so heavy with sweat and odor. Somebody spat on the floor in front of me. There was straw on the floor. The farmers were thumping their feet against the plank floor and shaking their fists at the board. I sank into a chair in the first row, right across from the supervisor's seat. Only the heavy desk and a narrow aisle were separating us. Everyone else was seated except for the supervisor. As minutes ticked by, the farmers got angrier. Finally, Supervisor Ned walked in swiftly, glancing at the mob. His big blue eyes were protruding from its sockets. Ned was a medium-built man with thick hair, and he pounded the gavel. "Silence," he yelled. "I said quiet." The angry farmers were shaking their heads, gesturing and talking. Big Farmer Frank was standing in the corner. Tall Frank, with a black mustache and hair, was leaning against the wall, wearing his rubber boots. He came directly from the pig stalls. His hands were stuck in his pockets, and he was chewing on a straw. Supervisor Ned pounded the gavel again. I will use the police if you do not shut up, all of you. There was a murmur and whisper in the room. In spite of that, I could hear the flies buzzing. We have only one order of business, and that is to revoke Frank's permit to expand his stinky pig operation, said Ned. I heard yelling behind my back as the farmers rose to their feet. I finally turned around, saw the only woman in the crowd, standing and shouting. It was the herdsman's wife, Deb, with light brown hair. She was wearing overalls, just like everyone else. In the weeks past, Deb gathered the opposition against the powerful township board led by Supervisor Ned. You can't do that, she screamed. You've already granted the permit to Frank to expand his pig farm. Ned pounded the gavel against the metal again. His facial muscles were twitching and his eyes were bulging out of the sockets again. Nobody tells me what to do in my township, Ned hollered. We're going to vote now. The board was made up of 5 members in a township of inbreeders. 4 of them were somehow related to Ned. All for revoking Frank's permit, he shouted. So that's 4 yeses and 1 no. The permit is revoked. A wave of anger swept the room as herdsman Big Ron stood up in the sea of violence. You have no right to revoke Frank's permit, yelled Big Ron. You just saw me do it. That's it for tonight. Ned hammered the gavel on the table. The crowd howled into the night and the police had to protect Ned from the attacks of the crowd. I suddenly felt a push from the back by the farmers toward the heavy desk. I fell headfirst on the desk, hitting it hard. My pen, paper, and camera were smashed somewhere under the table. You got what you wanted, right? Your story, the guy from Farmers Bureau shouted into my face. I staggered out of the hall into the hot night that smelled of manure. The next day, I came to the newsroom with a black eye and wrote the headline, Riot in Shimicon Township Against the Supervisor. The lead paragraph read, the township supervisor was attacked by the farming crowd after a vote to revoke pig farmers' permit to expand. You have to stop covering them. The editor looked at my black eye. It's not worth it. They're getting dangerous. Later in the day, the police called me to file a report. There were at least 15 people hurt that night. Supervisor Ned barely escaped through the back door. That night, herdsman's wife, Deb, and Ron were sitting in the kitchen in the dim light at their farm. They heard the wailing of the horses from Ned's ranch, just around the curve by the river and the golf course. That SOB is beating his horses again, said Ron. I can't stand it anymore. In the farming community of Shimicon, nothing was kept a secret. That's it.
Well done. Thank you, Emma. Great reading. Thank you.
So Emma, I'm just curious too, are all of your short stories, do they have a similar theme or do they have a similar setting that's in this book or all over the place or?
Basically, I divide my short stories into 3 circles based on my experiences. So the first circle would be my retail experience, the second, my immigration experience, and then obviously the third one, my journalism. And now I'm adding a 4th circle based on my in-person author events when really bizarre stuff happens.
Yeah, we've all seen that at author events. A few bizarre things every now and again, Harbor Crew, maybe.
My eye is twitching, but in a very good way. Okay, so this is my question then, Emma. Mm-hmm. So with a short story, you only have so much real estate to get to the end, the punch, the finish of it. Do you, I was going to say plotter or pantser, and you can answer that, but do you find that you already have this in mind where you know this is how it's going to end and you're building up to that with such a short amount of space to do that in?
Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't.
Okay, I would call that pantsing.
Like in this case, I knew where I was going with it because I know what happened. I covered all the way to the end. So, and I just twisted the characters, the plot, and like that. But sometimes I set out and I do not know how it will end.
There we go. Even just that reading, that just gave me such anxiety in a very, very good way. I mean, that is a compliment and such a testament to your ability to build up that much tension in such a small amount of, again, real estate. So kudos to you.
Thanks. Well, that comes from the newspaper business because you only have certain, column inches where you have to deliver the story the next day.
Yeah, I remember that when I wrote for a weekly newspaper, you only have so much space, and then you got to get it done and turned in by Thursday or else.
Oh, yeah.
Is there one very short piece of advice that you would give, Emma, and then Diana, if you want to chime in, because obviously writing for a newspaper or an article or something that has a very restricted word count, you have to kill your darlings. You have to just strip it down to the best bare basics. Emma, what is your best tip for doing that?
What is my what? Excuse me?
To strip down all of the wordy, well, I'm wordy, to strip it down to get it to the at least the required word count, no more than that. How do you go about doing that?
Well, I leave out all the floral stuff, all the ornaments that just has to go. That has to go. And with the newspaper stories, everything has to be upfront in the lead. But pretty much, I try to put as much as possible in the lead, even in fiction stories. You have to get as much information upfront as possible because you don't have a lot of time. So the sooner you get to the point, the better for you.
Oh, I love that answer. Diana, what's your answer to that too?
When I was working in the newspaper, the key for me was to get really punchy quotes. They call it now sound bites. But when I was in, that wasn't a term when I was working in newspapers. So, but the big thing for me was to pull those words out of your subject and put them on the page rather than me translating what I thought they were saying. I would pull directly. I used to take a little pocket tape recorder with me to every interview and then make sure that I pulled just their thoughts out rather than trying to interpret. That was how I did it.
I think that's excellent advice for any writer whatsoever, is just, like Emma said, pull out the flowery stuff, get to the point. And so that's wonderful advice. I love that.
Emma, one last question before we get to our next reader. You have an ebook that's going to be available tonight, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, but midnight tonight, from midnight June 12th to midnight June 13th. And it's available for Kindle Unlimited. And I will post the link on Diana's events page on the group. Pages, promotions, virtual book festivals. That's where I will post the link once I have it. I don't have it yet. It takes Amazon 24 hours to approve that. And I didn't know about it until yesterday or before yesterday, an author did this giveaway.
Awesome.
Okay. If we could take a look at her.
Thank you for the gift. I appreciate the gift. I know we all appreciate it very, very much.
Yes.
If we could take a look at her book cover one more time. And that was the short story from Shifting Sands tonight. And moving on to our next author, we have Michael Schwartz reading from The Next World and Other Tales. And this is, as I understand it, Michael, a brand new book, correct?
Michael is.
You're on mute.
Okay. Well, I'm usually so loud I don't need a microphone. So.
So tell us about the new book.
Yeah, this is a brand new book and the first one I'm publishing.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How does it feel?
It feels good. Yeah, I will. It'll feel better when I start selling thousands.
As you will.
We've all said that.
As you will.
Yeah. It's a collection of short stories. The one I'm gonna read tonight was actually came about from a writing prompt from Diana. It was shortly after we first met, when she still was managing the bookstore, and the theme of an anthology was going to be If These Walls Could Talk. And I thought about that, and I gave it some thought, and I'll say more about that after I read. But it's a collection. There's no one theme throughout all of the stories throughout the book. There's one about where I saw an object in a parking lot when I was going for an appointment, and I started wondering about how did it get there and why was it left? And my
It's like
imagination
something-
just kind of took off from there. And
It's relatable. I think everyone has seen that before.
yeah, probably at some point everybody's seen something left laying there, and it's just been okay, and that's it. Well, my weird imagination got to work.
Good.
Yeah,
Now
I want to interject a note here. Michael and I have been in a writing group now for going on this year, it'll be 4 years. We've been in this writing group, and it's taken me this long to convince him that he needs to publish. So I really want to acknowledge Michael that he's taken a really big step. And as we all know, being a debut author is a challenging thing. And
Scary.
so yeah,
Scary.
it can be really
Yes,
scary.
scary.
So I really want to acknowledge Michael for taking this first step, and I know he's got a lot more in him after this book.
Yeah, thank you, Diana. I do, and and let me read, and then we can get back. Of course, anything else I'm going to say will make more sense after.
Real quick though, is the book available now, or is it coming out in like short time?
June 30th.
June 30th. Okay.
Yeah, by hook or by crook, come hell or high water, come tornadoes or hurricanes or typhoons and floods.
If I have to drive over to his house and get the final edits in person, June 30th.
Yeah, and I don't want that because she can be a mean editor,
Have you met Kate?
a mean taskmaster. Yes,
Kate doesn't edit, and that's probably a good thing.
yes, yes.
Yo, Michael, please take it away.
Okay, so this story is entitled The Therapist's Office. I can hear voices in the hallway. Another day must be starting. I hear footsteps that stop at the door. It is probably the doctor putting her key in the lock. It seems like she only just left. She puts in so many hours each day trying to help those who seek it that it almost seems like she lives here. I wonder who will be visiting today. Men, women, children, what kind of problems will they discuss? And me? Who am I? Well, I'm more of a what than a who. I am the walls of an office suite for a psychologist in a professional office building. The occupants of the building are mostly small businesses with fewer than 20 people per office. There are lawyers, accountants, and some medical or mental health specialties. I communicate with other offices in the building. From what is overheard, it sometimes seems that the clients of the lawyers and accountants need to go directly to the mental health offices. They are not always happy people when they leave their lawyers or accountants. This is a group practice. My fellow officers and I compare what we have heard. Everybody thinks their problems are unique. There are only a handful of different issues, but with countless variations. What an interesting term, handful. Especially for me, I am a room, 4 walls with the floor and ceiling. How can I relate to what a handful is? Human beings must be influencing my thought patterns. I would change locations if I could, but as 4 walls attached to floor and ceiling, I cannot move away. I cannot change location. I must be here and observe what is going on. I have no choice. The doc is looking around. She stops in the middle of the room. She lets out a big sigh. She just stands there for a moment with her shoulders slumped, breathing heavily. She finally sits down, looking at her appointments for the day. She sobs a little. She holds her head in her hands. I can hear her mumble, "Oh, I forgot to cancel his appointment. I so wish I could have done more to help him. He was so troubled. He had so much promise. He still had a good chance at a good, happy life. Why did it have to end?" She sobbed and sobbed. Wait, there is a knock at the door. The doc dries her eyes. She stifles a tear. "I'll be right there." The doc goes to the door. She takes a deep breath, holds it in for a minute, then slowly lets it out. She stands up straight, puts on a smile, and opens the door. Her patient enters. Will this be someone new? No, this one has been here many times before. What is his story today? Will she be able to help him through whatever is disturbing him? I have been a witness to so many people, so many problems. I do not know how the doc keeps herself together. Who does she turn to when she has a problem?
Well done.
Yeah.
As Michael said, this came out of a wacky little idea I had for a book, and I may revive it, which is If These Walls Could Talk. And so the challenge was to write a short story based on a room, any room you wanted, but the room had to be speaking. So that was the prompt that came from it.
Right.
Michael, I'm curious, since this was your first book too, and this is not me dragging anything out about Diana as an editor at all. I'm not looking for anything like that, but how was the editing experience for you as a new author going through short stories and having to edit them?
The truth or an answer?
The truth.
Always tell the truth, Michael.
Well, I'll be honestly, I had experience before with some brutal editors. It was called my dissertation paper.
Those are brutal editors.
Yeah, and it was brutal. I don't know how they did it, but yeah, so but I will say this, I have learned a lot through reviewing the edits. It has been a learning experience for me. I'm glad of that. I'm glad that Diana has been that tough an editor, because I could take it one way or another, but I took it as a learning experience.
I appreciate that.
You are welcome.
That means the next book will be easier for me.
Yes.
Editing can
I
be
have to send
brutal,
it to
period.
another editor first, which I won't. I will take my time. I will make sure punctuation and spelling. I will not trust spell check on Word.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
As
I
I
will
keep,
say
Those who edit appreciate that.
this was just so amazing. Honestly, I wasn't even paying attention to the entire concept of, well, this is from the point of view of a room. This could be from the point of view of a ghost, somebody who has passed. That was just so good. Being
you.
able to see and hear and witness a professional's, the side that you don't get to see of them. I work in mental health and substance abuse. And so to, be able to hear that this individual, this professional that you're presenting is a human being, that was so good to hear. At the same time, I'm slightly terrified to see where it goes. So, but kudos to you. This was amazing. I loved it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I actually was intending for this piece to be somewhat lengthier. I was going to go into more of what she went through during the day. But I got to that last sentence and I said, that's it. That is it. Anything else is anticlimactic.
Yeah. The story is, here's the story. Here's the story. Yeah. Oh, it was wonderful. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you. Yeah. And I think that's something a lot of people don't consider. Who does a therapist go to for therapy?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Harbor
It's
crew, any other
literally-
questions? Sorry.
I was just going to say, last time that I heard, approximately 65 to 70% of mental health professionals are in some kind of therapy themselves. So take that as you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
They would have to be.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, I agree. They would have to be.
God, I hope I put a
Especially-
few of them there.
When you hear what Christopher goes through all day long at the hospital, I would hope that hospital people are mandated to take therapy, because oh my gosh.
I will say I saw a grief therapist for about 2 months. And the very first meeting we ever had, she said, well, tell me what's going on. About every 2 minutes, her head just got lower and lower and lower and lower. I thought, well, I'm doing my job. This is money well spent.
Yeah.
I got my money's worth tonight. Yeah.
Exactly.
Years ago, I knew an EMT, and he loved his job, except after a couple of months, he couldn't deal with it anymore. Said all he ever saw was the people when he brought them into the ER, and he never knew what happened after. And after a few months, it took a heavy toll on him.
It would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Eventually, he would quote Dracula.
Yeah. He had to get out of that business. He loved what he was doing, helping people, but
It's tough.
yeah, never knowing what happened later is just.
Yep.
All right, Harbor crew, any more questions for Michael before we head on to Diana?
I think just the same thing. Did you have a end point in mind, or did it just naturally come to you? This is where I was going for, and bang, here is the finishing point. Or did you have to go back and edit yourself to make it a short story?
Yes.
Okay.
Succinct.
How was that?
No, when I got to this point, I said, that's it. Okay. But then I went back and edited. And then after Diana saw it, there were more revisions. And this is the final form. But no, it did not start out as like 2,000 words, and I cut a lot out. This may, see, this is being recorded, so I got to be careful how I say this. This may end up being the opening to a book
Oh
of
gosh.
what happened during the rest of the day.
Ooh, I would read that.
Yeah,
That
I
would
would
be
read that
interesting.
too.
Someone is asking, Michael, how many stories are in your book?
Oh God, what do I got? 11 stories, I think.
I think there's 11 in there.
What
Yeah.
about you, Emma?
13 in this one.
And since you're going to read next, Diana, why don't you answer that too?
I have a baker's dozen. I was going for a dozen, and my son said, "Mom, that's so tropish. Don't put a dozen pieces in your book. How could you do that?" He said, "Add at least one more." So I did. I added one more. So
Can we take a look?
actually, I have to say Drake added one more, but we'll talk about that.
And actually, I have to say, I read the previous version of A Duck Quacks, and that was excellent.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see what the new and improved one holds.
Same stories, but I tightened them up.
Could we see Michael's book cover one last time, and then we'll get right on to your
Absolutely.
book cover?
Absolutely. There's Michael's book. Again, I want to remind everybody it's not available yet. And this is the first time the world is seeing this cover. This is a brand new cover reveal, but the book will be coming June 30th or else.
Or else.
Or else.
Okay, and moving along to Diana's.
You know, when a woman tells me or else,
You listen.
Yeah.
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 And Diana, there is a little story about your cover and a certain someone who designed it for you.
Indeed. I'm so thrilled. This is the new version, as Michael said, of the book. It's the same stories. They've just been tightened up and edited. And you know, we were talking about the edit process. this book was originally, in its original incantation, I think was edited 4 times. And when I went back to tighten it, it went through 2 more rounds of edits. So, yeah.
Now, do you do your own editing, or do you actually farm it out to a friend, another professional editor type thing, or what's your editing process like?
I get real editors. I get professional. Yes, I do this for a living, but if I don't have a real editor, I lose things. It's the forest for the trees kind of a thing. You know, I miss stuff because I've seen it 100,000 times.
I can see it in everybody else's, cannot see it in my own.
Exactly. That's the problem I have. I'm a great editor for everyone else. I'm a lousy editor for myself.
Well, Brent can attest to what he's had to read on mine before, and it's like, holy smoke, how did I miss that?
So this cover, I'm really super excited about the new incantation of the cover. My husband is an astounding artist, and he volunteered to do this cover. So that's all my husband, Dave Plopa, and he did that, and I'm so thrilled with it. I just think it's beautiful.
Okay, do you want to go ahead and take us away?
Well, okay, so let me do a little setup about this book.
Or you could do that too.
This is a Duck Quacks. Well, you kind of have to understand where it comes from before I can read it. So this is a Duck Quacks. It's a collection of short stories written not actually by me, but by my muse. I've had a muse since I was 7 years old. His name is Drake. He is a little tiny duck who has been quacking at me story ideas and character prompts since, like I said, I was 7 years old. The reason he's a duck is because when he was quacking at me when I was a child, it was always kind of muffled. I'm deaf in one ear, and so my world is different than everybody else's. I just simply hear things differently. And these story ideas always came to me kind of muffled, and it sounded to me like it was a duck underwater fishing for food while he was, you know, talking with his mouth full, kind of a thing. So that's how Drake came into being. And then I have to do this. When my son was 10 years old, I told him he was going to go to his dad's house for the weekend, and I told him that I was going to go to the cafe and I was going to write while he was gone. And he said, "Mom, I'm worried because you're sitting in a cafe surrounded by people talking to an imaginary duck. And I'm concerned that people are going to think you're a little nuts." Now, he was 10. And I said, "No, it'll be okay, really." So he pulls out this little Beanie Baby stuffed animal duck. He says, "Here, set this duck on your table at the cafe when you're writing. You can talk to him, and then people won't think you're nuts."
That adds a whole new dimension to it.
Yep, it does. So
your son is very wise. And Justine said the same thing. Out of the mouth of babes, your son's very wise.
He's a really smart kid. He's been on the planet before. So Drake now sits with me on my bookshelf, and he has now become a whole being. I talk about him all the time. Anybody who knows me and knows my writing knows that Drake is a real part of my existence. And if you read the foreword on the book, you'll learn more about Drake. But this book is actually, if you look on the book, it actually says, written by Drake the Duck Muse as quacked to Diana Kathryn Plopa. So this isn't really me, this is Drake. So I'm going to read the first story and then ask whatever you want. Feel free. This is called A Sore Loser. She was everything her mother told her not to be, and still, it hadn't made a difference. Raised in a highly conservative family with the tumult of propriety everywhere she turned, it was difficult to win. She dressed well, had impeccable manners, and a dowry large enough to capture preeminent suitors. And still, it wasn't enough. She wanted something more, something different. One day, he came to her door, roses in one hand and a marriage proposal in the other. Of course, her parents approved. He was from good stock and had a bank balance that mirrored his social standing. He was the finest champagne of men, bubbling refinement and promising a life of forever bliss. In her soul, She knew it was a scam. But she went on along anyway. She accepted the loss of any individuality she may have attained had she played the game differently. 3 years later, they had 2 delightful children and a nanny to care for them. She pranced the social scene unencumbered by poverty or guilt, making good use of charity to fill her lost evenings. He immersed himself in the work and was rarely present, physically, emotionally, spiritually, sexually, and nearly every other way, except financially. It was what kept her content, and still, it wasn't enough. She wanted something more, something different. She'd lost the teenage fantasy of her white knight. She accepted that loss with the daily immersion of false prophets who regaled her with the hints of emancipation through prayer, wine, and tolerance. The effect was only slightly comforting. 20 years passed. The children were grown and moved on to take up residence in the finest universities in Europe, chasing dreams and catching rainbows. They weren't yet satisfied, but they were working on it fervently. She envied their opportunity and courage. She'd lost all of that with the acceptance of a rose on the veranda of a summer afternoon. She remained at home, fighting off the jealousies of women who floated ghost-like through her marriage, never truly discovering her path of least resistance. She came to understand that agitation and quiet rage could not compete with the undulation of apathy or the tiny flame of happiness she dared to imagine. The singe of it eluded her. She craved nothing anymore. She'd lost the spark. When he died tragically on a ferry while commuting home from his latest lover's chateau of a brain aneurysm, she did not weep for him. Why should she? She'd lost the confidence she'd been dependent on. She'd lost the continuance she'd been dependent on for 30 years, and she was irritated that he'd left her the burden of their vast estate. There were lawyers to handle the delicate complications, of course. Still, she was saddened with the annoyances of daily ills of maintenance. She'd lost the recumbent lifestyle to which she had become accustomed. She was on her feet now, more than was comfortable. A telephone relentlessly dangled within reach as she was forced to make unpleasant decisions daily. She was expected to choose paths that could never relinquish resistance. She was required to parent her grown children a continent away. She resented all he had left her. She resented all he had done to keep her placid throughout the decades they'd been together. She resented the plans she was now forced to make to preserve the children's entitlement program. She'd never wanted any of this. Now that she'd lost the key to her self-loathing, with no new target of amicable anxiety, she resented herself. The housekeeper found her a month after his death. Her naked body was draped with the jewels of his false remorse. Her head lay upon the pages of his investment portfolio, stained with the blood of her awareness. She'd left the world in a sea of heaving self-doubt. She'd had it all, and she'd lost nothing tangible, only the love she never possessed. And yet, she rallied against her privilege and resented the moment he'd left her with responsibility. She hadn't coped well with losing.
I gotta tell you, Diana, the funny thing is that while you were reading part of that too, where the guy had died, I glanced down at Kate and she's like, mm-hmm.
I'll have to watch the replay.
You watch her facial expressions during some of that, she's like, uh-huh.
Ah. Diana, my God, that was just amazing. I recently read again. I read it a long time ago as an ARC, and then I read it again recently. It's a book called The Palm Beach Wife. And it's the same kind of idea, except, oh, you took it there. And it was 10 million times more amazing than that book was. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Luba was wondering what the inspiration was for that story.
Okay. So all of these short stories, again, didn't come from me. They came from Drake. It's the first time I'd ever allowed Drake to completely take the helm of our creative process. Usually we collaborate, and this time he went, no, Diana, you go sit in a corner. I'm going to dictate, you type. So that's what I did. And first, Drake gave me a list of titles. And then he said, now we're going to write these. So the title, A Sore Loser, is how we came about the story.
It's interesting because it could either be a sore loser or a sore winner.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
the perspective that you're looking at it, I don't know, and Christopher's probably the only person that could possibly have or have seen this movie. There is a movie called The Seven Faces of Dr. Lao, and there is a section that Apollonius does that is as haunting as what you just read, but it's very, I expected you to end with the same statement. For all the good or evil she could have done in the world, she may just as well never have been born. Because it was all right there.
Yeah.
Very, very impressive emotion.
Thank
The
you.
mood and tone of it reminds me of a short story that I've read. I think I read it in high school first, then I read it in college, called, I think it's The Yellow Wallpaper.
Oh,
Okay.
Kate knows it.
no, go ahead. No, that just reminded me. Oh my goodness. No, go ahead.
No, it's just, that's it, because it's about a woman. I think it was just, she's driven a little bit insane by what's going on around her. It was just kind of that same feeling to it.
Yeah. Writing short stories was new for me. My friend and author friend and mentor really for a long time, Donald Levin, suggested to me one day that I should write short form. And I said, Don, I don't write short form. I'm a novelist. I don't enjoy short form because it's really hard, because you only have so many pages, so many words to put something into. So I try to avoid short form, which is why Caroline's session the other night was so much fun for me, because usually I run the other direction from short form. But this, there was something about this woman when Drake first started talking about her that captured me. And I said, well, we've never really thought about the self-pity of a woman in this kind of position. And the more I talked with Drake about what's going on with this character, he just spilled it. And originally this story was something like 10,000 words. And I think I narrowed it down to about 1,600. So,
you say that you don't write in short stories, but in your book, Wolf Cub, it's written, it could either be taken as a series of short stories or as a single unit.
That's interesting that you mentioned that. Nobody's ever brought that to my attention before. And I think you might be right. Maybe I struggle against short form more than I should.
I think based on when I read that, because I was trying to catch up with my reviews today, I started posting them. And when I thought about the book and when you were just reading, the way that you wrote and the way that you expressed ideas, each functional chapter could have stood alone as it was. So I think that you may be more inclined to that shorter form than you think, my opinion. Be wrong.
It'd be interesting. At some point, Andrew, I'd like you to read one of my novels and tell me if you see the same thing.
I'll get there.
I don't see it that way, but if it lives that way, maybe, like I say, maybe I'm struggling against a tide I shouldn't.
Well, I've got about
what you've packed into that story, if nothing else. Good Lord Almighty, just the little bit that you shared with us, what you have packed into a short story already. That takes talent. I mean, I think that any of us can stretch something out into a little bit longer form, but what you just packed, and actually everybody tonight, everyone, that takes so much talent. It really does. And I applaud all of you for that. That's just, I can't do that. And so my hat's off to all of you.
Thank you. Yeah, and like I said, Caroline's session the other night got me thinking, now I have at least 3 starters for short stories for a new collection. So Caroline, I need more prompts is what I need.
You know what was funny is after our session with Caroline, I wrote the short story for this week's prompt. But when I started with that, the short story was 4,000 words. And then I went, oops, and then just started cutting until I got it down.
And,
So, you know, it's interesting.
and since we're on that vein, there was a question from earlier that I missed that I want to bring up. Joan asked, Michael, are all the stories in your books the result of prompts?
Oh, me? No.
I would say no, they're not. Not all of them.
No, a couple are, but most of them are not. No, there's another one that is a result of a prompt, and I think there's only two in the book that are results of prompts. This one and one other.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of them that were a result of something I observed, like an object in a parking lot. How did it get there? Why was it left? And then there's another which, well, actually upon the first time she was reading it, Diana said, you know, this reads kind of autobiographical. Is that your intent? And I thought for a second, I said, well, if that's how the reader wants to interpret it, that's fine, because those are my thoughts. Yeah. And that is something I've been thinking about. So when you read it, if you want to say, I know a little bit more in depth about Michael, that's fine. And if you want to think it's fiction, that's fine. But I'm okay either way.
Hey, Diana, we had one last question in the room that I know we want to give some books away tonight.
Excuse me, I take it back. There were 3 stories that were from prompts. I thought of a third one. There were 3 from 3 out of 11.
Diana, there was one last question here. It says, Mark wanted to know if Drake is available for consultations.
You know, if that were possible, we might make a nice, tidy side business out of it. But Drake, for some reason, doesn't talk to anybody else. My editor, Callie Connor, who is an astounding human being, she's about as close to having conversations with Drake as he will allow. But most people don't believe that Drake actually is as influential to me as he is. So he just snubs his beak at everybody and says, well, if you're not going to believe in me, I'm not going to believe in you. So he has a hard time talking to other people. But
well, you could always clone him.
Yeah, he's a good little duck. And as long as he keeps talking to me, I'm okay with it.
Okay. So should we get to the point where we're giving away some books tonight?
Sure.
We're starting to run a little low on time here.
Okay. Let me get to this. There we go. There's the new cover. And like I said, I just gotta do another shout out to my husband because he's astounding. He did this cover and I'm so pleased with it, and I just couldn't be happier. And just to let everybody know, A Duck Quacks in ebook form is available for free on Kindle today through my birthday, June 14th at midnight. So everybody can go to Kindle, download a copy if you like, but I'm also giving away 3 paperbacks tonight. So,
nice.
So there you go. Okay, let's give away some stuff. We are giving away a promise of a book, both in ebook and in paperback, of Michael's book. That's going to be number 1. And then it's going to come out, as we said, June 30th. And then
or else.
Or yeah, because I'm taking July to go with Drake, and we're going to the cabin and we're spending a month writing together. So I'm not editing through July. So if it doesn't get to me by June, it's not going to get done until August.
Yeah. So if I show up missing after July 1st, either Diana caught up with me or I went into hiding for the rest of my life.
Yeah, go look for you on the SSCIA, the floating black site. Yeah, we're never going to hear from you.
I was thinking more of the SS Minnow.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Okay, so tonight we're going to give away that, Michael's book in both print and ebook. Then we're going to give away a copy of Shifting Sands by Emma. And then we're going to give away 3 copies of A Duck Quacks for people. So I'm going to spin the
Quack,
wheel.
quack.
Yes. So I'm going to spin the wheel and let me make sure that I can share it first, please. Christopher, can you see that?
It's there right now.
Awesome. Okay, so here we go. So we're going to spin the wheel 4 times. Here we go.
Oh, there's no audio tonight.
No sound.
We can't jam with it.
Look at Kit.
She's making out, and this is what, the 3rd or 4th time I think she's won.
I was going to say, Kit still won.
Yay. So did I hear you say you cannot hear the music?
Correct.
No,
There's no
you-
music tonight.
Share your screen with the sound.
Thought I did that. Let me go back and try that again. Hold on. Let me stop sharing the screen. Let me go in, share the screen again. Sharing. I thought I shared the sound, but we'll make sure. Yep, it says the sound is shared. So I don't know. It's probably something weird that I did because that happens. All right, so we're gonna spin the wheel again instead of technology seeking. So this is for Shifting Sands. Here we go.
Clickety, clickety, clickety.
I'm gonna say, come on, Andrew, sing it.
Sing it.
It's Xander.
Nicely going, Xander. Nicely going. Nice going, Xander.
Okay, and now we're gonna spin the wheel 3 times for a copy of Duck Quacks. Here we go.
Superb. Da-da-da-da.
I'm hearing it in my head.
Me too. It's Jacob.
Jacob Bullen.
Ooh.
Congratulations,
Yay.
Jacob.
Yay, Jacob. Okay, here we go one more time.
It's nice that Jacob won.
Mary Beth McGee. Congratulations, Mary Beth.
Yay. Okay, last time for Duck Quacks.
Is it
And
Francesca or Francesca? Francesca Moore.
Yay,
Congratulations.
Francesca. Yay. Congratulations, everybody. You won some really great books. We're going to have fun. You're probably wondering how you get to collect your prizes. Somebody from the Harbor crew.
I got it.
Go.
Put the screen up. I got it. So if you've won a book, you have to send an email by midnight tonight to Diana@pagespromotions.com, including your name and your mailing address, because Diana's inbox is her to-do list. And if you don't send an email tonight, your prize will be rolled over into another drawing.
Absolutely. Next.
Okay, so if you have won a book, you are going to be looking for a Life Raft lottery card inside each one, and you are going to scratch the sale there. If you are a winner, which hopefully you will be, you take a picture of the card and you send it to Diana, and you will be eligible for one of some very, very awesome bonus prizes.
We're giving away 9 bonus prizes, and they're all donated by some really super generous authors. 2 authors, Ian Tadashi Moore and Jared Morningstar, aren't even in the reading regatta this summer, but they donated prizes anyway. So a special shout out to them. And then we have.
And if that weren't enough, if you do win, then you have the opportunity to win even more. What you're going to do is you're going to get dressed up in costume, and you're going to dramatically perform the following poem. Out of my window, looking in the night, I can see the sailboat's flickering light. Starboard shines green and port is glowing red. I can see the sailboats straight ahead. Sailboats, are there treasures in your holds? Many trunks filled with silver and gold? Sailboats are there captains at your helm bringing books for readers of our town? And you're going to take that and you're going to post it to our Facebook page, and everybody will vote on the favorite 5 videos. So you have even more chances to win.
Caroline, I love the hat. It's awesome. Good job. Okay, and next.
And that's not all. You can win even more. Of all the videos posted, the membership will vote for the ultimate performance, the best of the best, and that person will win an astounding grand prize. They'll embrace the thrill of fear by starting with A Slice of Fear by Little Old Me. Then take it to the next level as you find your way to Barnes & Noble and spend your $50 gift card on new books and pirate booty. But you're not done. You have to eat and use your $25 American Express gift card for dinner, your cool bookmark, nifty eye patch, other pirate stuff. Hey, it's all fun. What better way to face your fear and move past it with books and your imagination?
Awesome. See, we have the most generous souls on the planet in our reading regatta. I'm blown away by how wonderful all of our authors are. Thank you very, very much, Andrew. Okay, somebody else want to do this, or do you want me to do it?
Yes.
Okay, so we're doing a thing for the authors. It is because, you know, authors deserve to win prizes too. And I want the authors to have a little bit of fun in this regatta. So I devised a virtual Port Huron to Mackinac Island race, virtual race, after the actual sailing race that happens in Michigan every year. For each person that lists an author on their registration form as having referred them, we give the authors a point. And every 3 points achieved moves an author northbound on the course. So as you see right now, Captain Kit DeConti is in the lead with 25 points, and she is currently moored at the Alpena Municipal Marina. And then you can see the rest of the authors there on your screen. We're having a lot of fun playing this game, and make sure that you tell your friends to attend other race legs. And people who come, you can list as many authors per race leg as you like. Authors, you can also list yourselves. So keep that in mind. We're giving away some snazzy prizes. Our goal is 1,000 Shoreline Spectators throughout the month. We're right now at 193. This is day 11, so we need more Shoreline Spectators. Tell everybody you know. As you see, the prizes there are pretty snazzy for the authors. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to award the Captain of the Fleet prize package at the Venetian Night Wrap Party on June 30th.
Diana, could you please confirm, just for sailing dum-dums like myself, this is based on a real actual race, correct?
Oh, you betcha. You betcha. There is a real race. I've done it. I crewed on a sailboat that was in the race. It starts at Port Huron in Michigan, excuse me, and it sails north to Mackinac Island. And just a note, like, because I know, Kate, you asked about this yesterday. So let me just share this real quick with you. The ports that you see along the way are not checkpoints for the race. The race is just go, beat with the wind, throw up your spinnaker, catch the wind, go as fast as you can from Port Huron to Mackinac. The ports that I've identified here are the ports that my family took when we sailed from Port Huron to Mackinac in a 35-foot tartan. And because there was a teeny tiny shower and head on the ship, we would stop every other day in a new port or so. And so we could go ashore to the yacht club in that port, we could shower, we could bring on new provisions, and then get back on the boat and sail forward again. On the leg between Alpena and Presqu'île, I was able to navigate by sextant at night. My dad let me take the helm and do that. So I was able to navigate by the stars one night, and that was an experience of a lifetime. So this is a real boat. If you ever have the opportunity to go to Mackinac for race week and be there when the boats come into the harbor, it's amazing. Once they all get there, there are hundreds, 200-300 boats that all come into the harbor on the same day, and they raft off of each other, which means they all tie up next to each other in rows. And so in order to get to your boat, which is like 50 boats away, you have to jump on all the other boats to get there. So it's a blast. It's one big party. Nobody sleeps, but it's fun. If you ever have the opportunity to be in Mackinac for that race, be there. Yes, Andrew.
And we all should be looking at Kate's face right now, thinking about jumping from boat to boat and going across that, as her eyes got larger and larger, and it got funnier and funnier to me.
Yeah, and as many times, I've been to Mackinac several times for the end of the race, and as many times as I've been there and rafted off boats to boats, because it's one big party, right? So you have to like carry your wine glass as you move from one boat to the next. I've never fallen in the drink, and it was a blast.
This, but there's this too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, to
yeah. There's a Chicago to Mackinac as well.
Yeah.
And that's a fun, because those are you've
The
got
boats are a little bit bigger.
Lot bigger boats.
Yeah. The ones that went up, the ones that typically go up on the eastern coast of Mackinac are what they call North American 40s. So they're between 40 and 50 feet. But they're, oh my gosh, so much fun. If you want to check out how fun sail racing is, there's a video that I posted on the Facebook page that is so cool to watch. And if you look at it, my favorite place to be on a sailboat is on the low side, dangling my head over into the surf as you scream through the water. So,
you're giving Kate a panic attack at this point.
I know. She's never going to go on a boat with me.
No.
I am totally with Kate on this one.
Yeah. About the going from boat to boat while you're carrying your wine. So does your staggering from the drinking balance off the pitch and roll of the boats?
If you're lucky.
I don't know, because after 3 glasses of wine, I was asleep in my berth. So I couldn't tell you.
I just wondering if it counteracts or adds to.
Yeah, I don't know. I have seen people fall in the drink. So.
Ooh.
Oh, Jesus.
There's no wake up there, though, so it's okay. All right.
Yeah. You keep telling me
one
that.
slide left, right?
Yeah, you have one. Here, let me do this before I pass out from sheer anxiety, because this is giving me all of the anxiety right now. Okay, so all of you who are there like, Jesus, what is Kate's problem? I'm not a big water person, but I am a books person. I love the books. I love all of the books that have been put forth in just so far, good Lord, that we've had just so far in this month, previous months. And so you actually have the ability to go one-stop shop, purchase them. I'm still going to fan myself. You still have the ability to go purchase them in the harbor store. And that is wonderful, because Diana, being the amazing person that she is, she and Paige's Promotions are not taking any kind of royalties or any kind of money whatsoever left over from that. That is all going straight to the authors. It's very intuitive. I was actually flipping through it a little bit earlier, and it really is amazing how much fun and how intuitive it is to flip through the bookstore. So I strongly encourage you to go do that. And otherwise, I'm just going back. I'm going back.
Hey, I heard a rumor that you were I heard a rumor, Kate, that you were an extra in Waterworld.
Oh, there you go.
You would be wrong, sir.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. Shots across the bow. Let's start with Kate before she faints.
Just keep coming back. The books are amazing. I'm probably going to die of drowning before the end of this month. And so if I do, please do look to Christopher. It was Christopher's fault totally. But otherwise, please, please, please do go to the harbor store. Check out the books that are there available. All of the royalties, proceeds, everything are going to the authors.
Absolutely. Christopher, shots across the bow, sir.
Just another night of fun. I've been enjoying every single day of this. I've been able to be here every single day. I'm looking forward to the next one, and I am looking forward to meeting more new authors and hearing some more readings. This has been phenomenal.
Yes, yes. Caroline.
I really want to give a special thanks to the readers tonight. I mean, all the readings have been amazing, but I have this fascination with short stories, and I love the art of short stories. So I really want to say thank you, because tonight was really great. And I hope to study your work a little bit more.
Awesome. Thank you very much,
Agreed.
Caroline. Brent, shots across the bow, sir.
Actually, I just finally made this connection. I woke up this morning after having a dream that I drove my truck into a lake, and now I know where this is coming from.
It's Kate's fault.
Poor Kate.
Go to the Facebook page. If any of you are like, where is this? Go to the Facebook page and check out this amazing poem that was written about killing me, probably.
Andrew, shots across the bow, sir.
Caroline, I'm still waiting for you to read my short stories. See? No, it was really great. I was really impressed with everybody tonight. Michael, keep it up. I'm real curious about what was left in the parking lot, because I'm a fan of Guy de Maupassant, and A Piece of String is one of my favorite, and it would be interesting to see how you did something similar. Diana, enjoyed it. Emma, always enjoy it. I mean, this was a really good night. Thanks everybody for being here.
Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for your continued support, everybody. Check out Emma's free ebook she's gonna post the link as soon as she gets it. So check that out. I will post the link for the ebook, Duck Quacks. So if you feel like an ebook, check that out. That's live now, and it'll go through the 14th of June. And Michael's book will be out on June 30th, or else.
Or else.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your support and your kindness and your attention this evening. We all appreciate it. Thank you, Harbor Crew. Couldn't do it without you. And come on back tomorrow. What's tomorrow? The 12th. Yes, we're doing stuff tomorrow. Come on back tomorrow and enjoy us for another race leg. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.